Okay, I thought I'd do my initial thoughts on Need for Speed Unbound. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to say I'm not an expert or a hardcore fan of the series in the sense that I've played every single game. I mean, I've played a lot of them, but not every single one. And I'm not going to say that I'm an expert where I've come first in every single race and played it online and been a complete professional at the actual game, but I am decent at it. Obviously for me, depending on the games, they take their time to warm up. My favourite Need for Speed game, I didn't mind Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, and then obviously there was the remastered version that came out a couple of years ago, and that those games, I mean, that wasn't too bad. But my favourite Need for Speed game was probably Need for Speed Most Wanted, and not the original one that was on the PS2, but the one they remade, I think, for the PS3, and then they released it for the 360. I mean, there's even a Wii U version of it, which apparently is meant to be actually better than the PS3 and 360 version of it, because they've based it on the PC version of it, and it's actually very good. And actually, to buy it, even now, it's still quite expensive. But I remember playing that on the PS3 and kind of really enjoying the game, the controls, the graphics. I just absolutely love putting my time into the game. And I've tried that obviously with if you have EA Play or Game Pass, you'll get EA on there, the EA games in there. I've tried the Need for Speed games, like the more like Need for Speed Heat and some of the other ones, and I just haven't liked it. I haven't liked any of them. To me, they kind of just lost their kind of finesse, so to speak. And I think some of it's also partially to do with obviously Gran Turismo Sport. Obviously, there's Gran Turismo 7, which is more not arcade, but that's more of a racing sim. And then also you got the Forza series, where you got the Forza Horizon and the Forza Motorsport, whereas the Forza Horizon games are kind of more arcade and the stuff and the challenges. So for me, obviously I jumped on the Xbox bandwagon, as so to speak, like a couple of years ago. So it's almost as if I'm playing catch up, obviously with the Xbox. But after trying out the Forza Horizon series and the Motorsport series, I've absolutely fell in love with their games. I mean, at first playing the both sets of series, I did find it difficult at first, but then after a while, the more you play it, the more you enjoy it, and the more the fun the game kind of becomes, and it becomes more satisfying. Now, I haven't played. I've played the demos of Horizon 3 and the demo Horizon 4, although I actually own Horizon 4, because when I got given the Xbox One S, it gave me like a digital code for it, but I haven't played it yet. And then obviously Horizon 5 came out a while ago, just recently, and then that's on Game Pass, so I can play that if I really wanted to. And then obviously I've played Motorsport 5 and the 6, and then there's meant to be the next one coming out, I think, next year. So I really like the Forza series. Now, coming back to Unbound. Now, I've managed to play it on the PS5 when I got the EA Play app, or what you want to call it, for a month for 79p. It's usually £3.99 a month. So you get access to all the games, and you get a 10-hour trial of Need for Speed Unbound. Now, right off the bat, I will say that the graphics are good. Now, I wouldn't say that they're totally full next gen, but they do look decent. I actually do like the cell shading effect that it has on the characters and even on the car. So if you do a drift, you get like this smoke that comes out obviously from the tires, and you can actually customize the colors on the actual tires. And then sometimes when the tires turn, obviously they're spinning, you get this cell shaded effect of depending on what the color that you've picked. And then if you say jump in the air, then the car it has its wings on each side of the door, and then you get this crown as well. I think I forgot how that happens. So that part of the game, it's kind of, I do really think it's kind of good. I mean, it actually kind of works. You would think it wouldn't, but it actually does work. So I commend them for kind of trying to add something for it to stand out of the crowd. But I know I'm going to be in a minority in kind of saying this, right? But I really haven't been enjoying the game at all. The story, it's the same old story that we've seen kind of before. Someone turns on you, then you lose everything. You got to build it from scratch, which is fine because you want to earn what you get, so to speak. The AI in it is not very good at all. If I'm honest, so for example, when you start from scratch, obviously you have to build up money to build up your garage and to basically get better cars and better upgrades for your vehicle, which is fair enough, or buy better vehicles and even do upgrades on them, which is fine. Now, what I found, and then obviously there's different classes. So if your car's a B class, you can only ride in B class events, or A class events if you've got an A class car, and then you can do a bet with a particular rival, and if you win, you obviously win the actual payout. But if you don't have enough money, then you basically can't do that event, which I think is a bit dumb. If the cops bust you, you basically lose your money unless you bank it at a safe house. Now again, for me, I found this a bit stupid, where I thought what would happen is that you would have the cops after you, and then normally, obviously in most games, is that if the cops basically box you in and you can't escape, basically you get busted. But what I found is that there were 3 cops after me. I basically tried to do a J turn and then accelerate away from the actual cops. And even though I accelerated away from them, I still got busted even though they touched me, which was stupid because they never boxed me in, which I think is absolutely kind of ridiculous. The computer, with the AI, it totally rubber bands you in the actual races, so it's basically cheating. So basically, when you sit there and you're thinking, right, I'm gonna go past the AI cars and kind of just beat them, you basically can't, because it always finds a way of cheating. Now, I think that's kind of unfair. To me, if you're driving and your skills aren't great and you screw up on your own merits, not the fact that the computer is having to snap back to sit there to then make the game more difficult than what it really kind of is. And so I think that's one other aspect of the game where I don't think it kind of works. And then when you're obviously starting off with the bog standard car, whichever one you've bought, I don't expect obviously the car to sit there to be a high performance car, because obviously you have to upgrade the parts in the car to come first in the races, or do higher races so that you would earn more money. But so, an event happens in the story. Obviously you start off with a bog standard car, and then even when you're racing, you're just trying to earn what little money that you can, so that you can sit there and then start upgrading the car. It virtually doesn't give you anything. So basically, you're gonna have to sit there and go on the grind. And I don't know what it is with video games these days. It's a similar issue with the Assassin's Creed games, where they've become more RPG, and then they just make you just want to sit there and then grind out trying to earn money to upgrade your car. Now, as I said before, I've played the Gran Turismo games on the original Gran Turismo games on the PlayStation 1 and Gran Turismo 1 and 2. And obviously you start off with the not very good performance cars, and then you basically have to grind out in earning the money so that you can then buy better parts, and then buy better cars eventually, and then buy better parts for us, and so on and so on and so on. So I'm not one of these ones where you kind of want everything kind of handed to you on a silver platter. You want to sit there and feel as if that what you're doing is, in terms of the racing and what you're earning, for example, is that you slowly get in there with your character, So then what ends up happening is, over the investment of time that you spend, obviously you end up getting better. You have a good collection of cars with good upgrades, and if there's old cars that you don't want anymore, obviously you would sit and sell them. And that's what I loved about Gran Turismo 1 and 2 when I first played them on the PlayStation, because yes, it was a lot of hard work, but it felt like it was rewarding. I never felt like the computer was cheating, or it was kind of holding it back. Now, again, I don't know if this is the fact that if the game has microtransactions in it, so it kind of wants you to kind of do that. I don't know, maybe that's in the game or not. I really don't honestly know. But I just found the game, for me, just completely disappointing. Even the controls, which I think are half decent, but they're not kind of great. And I think, from my opinion, and I know this is not going to be with everybody, I think for me, I've been sport with the Forza Horizon series, where it's just, or even the Motorsport series, or even Gran Turismo Sport, where I just think that it's just more fun and it feels more rewarding. Because even when I first played Gran Turismo Sport on the PS4, although you can play it on the PS5 now, which is what I do. Even when I had to sit there and do the licensing events, where you have to sit there and get a certain license so you can do events, it was hard work, but you never felt like the computer was cheating you. And then I always felt like that by the time I sit there and I did it, but I felt like I felt all the hard work paid off, and I was rewarded for what I was doing. Same thing with the races, where I wasn't always coming first in the races, and I was always maybe in the top 3, top 5. But I got better. But then I kept playing it, and I never felt like I was being handicapped by the AI, or the computer was using a better car than me, so I just couldn't beat it. It always the only way, the best way I can describe it is it felt like it was fair. And I think, unfortunately, with the Need for Speed series, for example, I don't know what's happened to it. It kind of lacks something. And as I said, the Need for Speed Most Wanted remake was absolutely great. I loved that game. I mean, as I said before, I was even trying to find the Wii U version of it at a good price, because, as I said before, that version is meant to be really good. And I was even hoping that with what they did with the Need for Speed Hot Pursuit remake, I was even hoping that maybe that EA will do a remaster of that game, because that game which they still haven't done, and that game, well, for me, was absolutely fantastic. So, you know what I mean? I've got my issues with EA and even with Ubisoft, in a sense that two big companies, and their games usually have a lot of potential, but somehow it just, I don't know, they just don't end up fulfilling their potential. They just drop off. I don't know what it is with both companies, with EA and Ubisoft, but the games just don't, I don't know, they just kind of just lack something to me. So, as I said before, it's probably, I know there's a lot of people out there that are enjoying Need for Speed Unbound, and that's fine, and that's fair. I mean, not everyone, is going to have the same kind of taste, or, the same excitement for a particular game. You know what I mean? It's just kind of the way it is. But for me, I'm not going to sit there and blow smoke up someone's arse and say, oh, that game was great. If I sit there and I feel that that's what I think, that's what the issue with that particular game is, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say, I'm not going to sit there and suck up to our company. I'm just going to say it. But as I said before, I just wish that what the game did was that the AI didn't rubber band and then have to cheat. All right, the story again, I suppose I can sit there and kind of go along with it, even though it's not original. But then a lot of stories aren't really, but I can go along with that. But I just wish that that for me, how I would have done the game is, I'm not saying as well that I would have given you did race to get tons of money, and then the upgrades for the parts of the car you get given to it easily. I do believe in that you have to work for it. But what I think they should have done is that it should have started off where, obviously, that because you've lost everything, that you slowly start to get the stuff that you actually need for your car. And then after a while, after you do some of the races, the races are going to get harder, so you're going to have to upgrade. You can't get away with not doing it. So then you gradually gets harder, and then you gradually have to upgrade the car, and then it's kind of fair. And then the opponents that you're racing against, that even with, obviously they probably got all the upgrades in their car, that it's a lot more fair as well. So you've got a fair chance to win. It's just down to your skill level. I mean, I don't expect it, like the game to be easy. I mean, it's holding your hand. I mean, it's because then you're wasting your money. Now, for me, this is just my initial opinion, because obviously, as before, it's a 10-hour trial. Would I buy the game if I could afford it? I'm going to be honest and say no. I probably wouldn't. If it wasn't the EA Play app thing, would I try it? Maybe. Or, as I said before, if you're trying the game out as a trial, I would say try it, because you've got nothing to lose there because it's free. Or even if it was on the app, on the EA Play thing, I would say, yeah, try it because you're not paying for the game. But I'm going to be honest with you, I personally wouldn't buy it. I would have rather have seen EA release a Need for Speed Most Wanted remaster. I mean, that I would have snapped it up in a heartbeat with that particular game, because that actually was a good game. But yeah, and then on top of that, with the games that are currently coming out at the moment, I think it's not going to get a look in anyway, because they didn't really do any like hardcore advertisement for the game anyway. So unless it becomes a sleeper hit, I don't know what's going to happen with that game. But yeah, it's not my cup of tea, and I was really hoping that this Need for Speed game would be different, and then it would return to its glory of the Need for Speed days. But I just miss the old days of the Need for Speed games. I mean, and for me, just doesn't hit the mark. So for me, a lot of potential there in terms of, for the graphics and the cell shading, which will actually work, and which you would think wouldn't. But for me, it's kind of a lost opportunity there, and it's a real shame, because as much as I may not like a game, I don't want a game to fail. I mean, I want all games to succeed, even if it's something that I'm not necessarily a fan of, right? But yeah, I don't like kind of bad-mouthing games, but Need for Speed Unbound, it's just not for me, I'm afraid.